Prince Harry is addressing those rumors about his real father. For decades, there has been speculation that Princess Diana's former lover, James Hewitt, is the 38-year-old's dad, not King Charles III.
For decades, rumors have swirled around the British royal family regarding Prince Harry's paternity. The speculation, fueled by his red hair and physical differences from his brother William, became a persistent tabloid narrative that the palace firmly denied. Now, an explosive revelation has reportedly shattered the fragile peace between Harry and his royal relatives. What DNA discovery could possibly drive the already estranged prince to make a final, irrevocable break with his past? The truth is more stunning than even the most sensational tabloid dared to print. According to sources close to the situation, Harry received the test results during a video consultation with his physician. As the doctor began discussing a specific genetic marker, Harry reportedly stopped him mid-sentence, visibly shocked by information visible on his screen. The consultation ended abruptly, with Harry requesting all his results be sent to him immediately for private review. He ended the call and just sat in complete silence for nearly an hour, one insider claimed. Meghan found him still staring at the results when she returned from taking Archie to his playgroup. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. The genetic profile reportedly contained markers inconsistent with the Windsor genetic line, but remarkably similar to another well-known figure from Princess Diana's past, one whose relationship with Harry's mother had long been the subject of speculation. The James Hewitt question finally answered. For decades, the most persistent rumor about Harry's paternity centered on James Hewitt, the former cavalry officer with whom Princess Diana had a 5-year affair in the late 80s and early 90s. The timing of their relationship, combined with Harry's red hair, similar to Hewitt's, fueled endless speculation despite consistent denials from all parties. Hewitt himself had repeatedly stated that his relationship with Diana began in 1986, 2 years after Harry's birth in 1984, making it biologically impossible for him to be Harry's father. This timeline, confirmed by Diana's friends and royal biographers, seemed to definitively rule out Hewitt. But according to sources familiar with Harry's genetic test results, the truth appears far more complicated. The DNA markers reportedly indicate that Hewitt is indeed Harry's biological father, contradicting the long-held official timeline of when Diana and Hewitt's relationship began. This revelation suggests that Diana and Hewitt may have had a brief earlier relationship or encounter, preceding or coinciding with the early troubled years of her marriage to Charles, a possibility never before confirmed or even seriously considered by royal historians. The timing would have been during a period when Charles had resumed his relationship with Camilla and Diana was deeply unhappy, noted one royal biographer who requested anonymity. It's not implausible that Diana might have sought comfort elsewhere, though this earlier connection to Hewitt has never been documented. Harry's emotional reckoning. For Harry, the reported discovery has triggered a profound emotional crisis that goes beyond the question of his biological father. According to friends, this revelation has forced him to reevaluate his entire life story, including his relationship with the royal family and particularly with King Charles. Harry is processing the fact that people around him, potentially including Charles himself, may have known the truth all along, said one source close to the Sussexes. Every interaction, every cold shoulder, every perceived slight now looks different through this lens. Was he treated differently because they knew? Was the spare designation even more literal than he thought? The timing of this discovery has reportedly been especially painful given the contents of Harry's memoir, Spare, published in 2023. In the book, Harry wrote extensively about his complicated relationship with Charles, his feelings of being overlooked, and his desperate desire for his father's approval and affection. He poured his heart out about his relationship with a man who may have always known he wasn't his biological father, the source continued. That realization is devastating. Most poignant was Harry's reported reaction to photos of himself with Charles. According to those close to him, Harry spent hours reviewing old photographs, looking for genuine connection or signs of emotional distance that might have been invisible to him before. The final break. While Harry has maintained public silence about these revelations, his actions speak volumes about his response. Within weeks of reportedly receiving the test results, Harry is said to have consulted with constitutional lawyers about his technical status within the royal family, begun the process of legally changing his children's surnames from Mountbatten Windsor to simply Sussex, instructed his foundation to remove all references to his royal heritage from their materials, returned private family heirlooms to Buckingham Palace via courier, including items received from Queen Elizabeth II. Most significantly, Harry reportedly sent a formal letter to the palace renouncing any remaining claims or connections to the royal family. While not technically a requirement, as he remains sixth in line to the throne regardless of biological parentage, having been born during Charles and Diana's marriage, this symbolic gesture represents his complete psychological break from his former life. "This isn't about legal status for Harry," explained one confidant. "It's about identity. He's making a clean break with an institution he now feels was built on lies, at least where he's concerned." Meghan and the children. Throughout this crisis, Meghan Markle has reportedly been Harry's steadfast supporter. According to friends, she viewed the news not as a scandal, but as a piece of clarity that explains much about how Harry was treated within the royal family. Meghan told Harry that DNA doesn't change who raised him or who his children's grandfather is, one source claimed. But she also supports his need to process this truth and make decisions based on it. She's giving him space to figure out what it means for him. For Archie and Lilibet, still too young to understand the complexity of the situation, the practical changes have been minimal. Sources indicate that Harry and Meghan have decided to delay any specific explanations until the children are older, focusing instead on creating stability amid the internal family turmoil. Harry has reportedly become even more protective of his children's privacy, implementing additional security measures around their home and activities. Friends suggest this stems from a fear that the children might become targets of media fixation if the paternity information becomes public. Harry's primary concern is protecting Archie and Lilibet from experiencing anything like what he went through, said one source. If anything, this has made him even more determined to build a life completely removed from royal scrutiny. James Hewitt's response. While Hewitt himself has maintained public silence, sources claiming to be familiar with his reaction describe him as stunned and conflicted. Though he had always denied being Harry's father, these sources suggest he may have privately wondered, given the timing of certain events. A former military colleague of Hewitt's told a British newspaper that Hewitt had occasionally made comments about Harry's military career that seemed unusually proud and specific. He followed Harry's service in Afghanistan with particular interest, the colleague noted. He collected news clippings about Harry's military achievements. We thought it was just because of the Diana connection, but perhaps there was more to it. What remains unclear is whether Hewitt would welcome a relationship with Harry at this stage. The two men have reportedly never had a significant conversation, despite moving in adjacent social circles during Harry's life in Britain. Any potential relationship would be complicated by Hewitt's past decisions to profit from his connection to Diana through tell-all interviews and books. James has carried this secret, or at least this question, for almost 40 years, said one longtime acquaintance. Whether he knew the truth or just suspected it, he's now facing the consequences of choices made decades ago. The path forward. For Harry, the path forward appears to be one of complete separation from his royal past. Friends say he is focusing intensely on his children and humanitarian work, finding purpose in building a legacy entirely his own. Harry told me he feels liberated in a way, one close friend revealed. The constant questions he had about why he never quite fit in, why he was treated differently, they finally have an answer. It's painful, but there's clarity in it. This clarity has reportedly led Harry to embrace his mother's legacy even more fully. Diana's humanitarian work, her empathy for outsiders, and her eventual break from royal constraints now serve as a template for Harry's own journey. Most poignant is Harry's reported new understanding of his mother's isolation. He told me he now understands on a much deeper level what his mother went through, said one confidant. The loneliness of carrying a truth that the institution wanted buried. He feels connected to her through that shared experience. The historical context. While unprecedented in modern times, questions of royal paternity have shaped European history for centuries. From Louis XIV to the Habsburgs, unofficial royal children and questions of legitimacy have altered the course of dynasties. What makes Harry's situation unique is the modern context. The combination of genetic testing, global media, and his pre-existing public separation from royal life. Never before has a royal figure of his prominence had both the scientific means to discover such a truth and the freedom to potentially acknowledge it publicly. Historians note that in previous eras, such questions would have remained permanently in the realm of rumor and speculation. The scientific certainty now possible creates an unprecedented situation for monarchy as an institution built on bloodline and inheritance. Throughout history, monarchies have survived wars, revolutions, and scandals, noted one historical scholar. But they've never before had to confront DNA testing and the absolute certainty it provides about biological relationships. This may ultimately prove more challenging to the concept of royal bloodlines than any political revolution. The ultimate question of identity. Beyond the constitutional implications and family drama lies the deeply personal journey of a man discovering his true identity midlife. For Harry, now in his early 40s, the reported revelation forces a fundamental reassessment of his life story. This isn't just about who his father is, explained one psychologist who specializes in identity issues but has no connection to Harry. It's about who he thought he was versus who he actually is. That kind of discovery forces you to re-examine every memory, every relationship, every assumption about yourself. Friends say Harry is approaching this reckoning with remarkable resilience, drawing on the personal growth he's achieved through therapy and his new life in America. Rather than being destroyed by this discovery, he appears to be integrating it into a new understanding of himself. Harry told me that he finally feels free to be fully himself, said one associate. Not a prince, not a duke, not a spare. Just Harry, son of Diana, father to his children, husband to Meghan. There's a profound simplicity to that identity that he finds peaceful. For a man whose life has been defined by titles, expectations, and public scrutiny, this final cutting of ties, prompted by the most personal of discoveries, may ultimately provide the clean break he's been seeking since stepping back from royal duties in 2020. In choosing to build his identity around the truth rather than inherited titles or institutional expectations, Harry appears to be following a path his mother might have recognized, choosing authenticity over tradition and personal truth over public expectation.
You didn't believe she was dead?
For a long time. I just refused to accept that she was gone.
For years, people have wondered if there was more to Princess Diana's death than what the world was told. Many believe it wasn't just an accident, that powerful people might have been involved. Now, something shocking has come to light. Prince Harry has allegedly revealed a full list of names, people who may have had a role in what really happened that night. This changes everything. For so long, the truth has been kept in the dark, but now the doors to the past are opening, and what's behind them could shake the world. If these names are real, it means that Diana's death wasn't just a tragic event. It was something far bigger, something that powerful people never wanted anyone to know. But if this information is out, what happens now? Will justice finally be served, or will the truth be silenced once again? Prince Harry's struggle with the official narrative. For years, Prince Harry has struggled with what the world was told about his mother's death. While the official story has always been that Diana's car crashed in Paris because the driver was drunk and paparazzi were chasing them, Harry has never fully believed that. Deep down, he always felt there was something more. Something people were not saying out loud. In different interviews over the years, Harry hinted that he had questions. Questions that were never answered. He once said he didn't trust the people who carried out the investigation. It felt like everyone was too quick to blame the driver or the paparazzi, but no one ever looked deeper. Harry made it clear that even as a child, he wondered why his mother didn't have proper protection that night. Why were they driving so fast? Why was no one there to save her? His anger toward the media is no secret. In many of his interviews, Harry has shared how much he blames the press for his mother's death. He believes they hunted her like an animal, chasing her until the very end. He also feels the media never took responsibility for what happened. Instead, they wrote story after story, made money off Diana's tragedy, and moved on like nothing happened. Harry's book, Spare, gives us a closer look at his pain. In the book, He writes about how he used to ask his driver to go through the same tunnel where his mother died, hoping to understand how it all happened. That image alone shows just how much this loss has haunted him. And then came his Netflix docuseries, where he and Meghan Markle opened up even more. In one episode, Harry almost breaks down as he talks about how history was repeating itself. He saw how the media was going after Meghan the same way they went after Diana. That's when Harry said something that made everyone stop and think. He hinted there was more to the story of Diana's death. Something darker. Something the world still doesn't know. But the real question is, why now? Why would Harry choose this moment to leak the full list of people involved? Some say Harry has reached a breaking point. After leaving the royal family, losing his royal duties, and fighting endless media battles, maybe this is Harry's way of finally setting the record straight. He's no longer tied to the palace. He's no longer scared. Maybe for the first time in his life, Harry feels free enough to tell the truth. Or maybe it's because he now has children of his own. Maybe he looks at Archie and Lilibet and thinks, they deserve to know what really happened to their grandmother. Either way, if this leak is true, it's one of the biggest royal bombshells we've ever seen. The alleged leak. Who is on the list? Now let's talk about the leaked list that everyone's talking about. Before we dive into the names, let's be clear, this is still speculative. It's not officially confirmed by any government or court, but the sources say the leak came directly from Harry or someone very close to him. The list is shocking. It includes powerful people. People you'd never expect to be connected to Diana's death. First, there are mentions of senior royal advisors. No specific names have been released, but words like high-ranking royal figures are being used. People who had a lot to lose if Diana married Dodi Al-Fayed. People who worried about how Diana's choices would change the future of the monarchy. Then, there are whispers of British intelligence agencies, especially MI6. Some reports say that MI6 was tracking Diana in her final days. They were worried about what she might reveal or who she might marry. It's a scary thought. But if true, it means her death was not just a tragic accident, but something far more planned. French authorities are also being questioned in the leak. Many people have wondered for years why the French police handled the accident the way they did. Why was the crash scene not secured properly? Why did it take so long for Diana to get to the hospital? Why were so many reports filled with mistakes? According to the leak, some believe the French authorities were either covering something up or were part of a bigger plan. The leak doesn't stop there. It also points fingers at media moguls and certain tabloid editors. These are the people who paid the paparazzi to chase Diana that night. Some of these media bosses had close connections to the royal family and the British government. Could it be possible that they were working together to silence Diana once and for all? And of course, we can't ignore Mohammed Al-Fayed's long-standing claims. Dodi's father has always believed that Diana's death was planned. For years, he said that powerful people didn't want Diana to marry his son because of their Muslim background. He believed they feared that the future King of England would have a Muslim stepfather, or even Muslim siblings. This motive, according to the leak, might be the real reason behind everything. It's chilling to think about. If this list is real, it means Diana's death was never about a drunk driver or a speeding car. It was about power, fear, and control. And now, with this leak, the world is being forced to look at everything all over again. The royal family's reaction to the leak. As you can imagine, this leak has sent shockwaves through the royal family, but publicly, they are silent. There has been no official statement, no press conference, just complete silence. It's almost like they're hoping if they don't say anything, the story will disappear. Behind closed doors, though, the royal family is probably in panic mode. This is not just another tabloid rumor. If the list is real, it puts some of the most powerful people in Britain in a very bad light. For King Charles, Prince William, and other senior royals, this leak could reopen old wounds and start new fights. Some experts believe that the royal family's no-comment strategy is their way of controlling the situation. If they speak, they might confirm the story is true. If they stay quiet, people are left guessing. But one thing is certain. This leak will make the already deep rift between Harry and his family even worse. there's almost no coming back from this. Potential repercussions of this leak. The big question now is, what happens next? What kind of trouble could Harry be in for leaking something like this? Some legal experts say that if Harry named people without hard proof, he could face lawsuits. He might be accused of defamation or breaking national security rules. There's even a chance his security could be taken away, leaving him and his family vulnerable. But it's not just Harry who could face trouble. This leak might force the British government to respond. People around the world are already calling for a new investigation into Diana's death. If that happens, the royal family and many powerful figures could be dragged into the spotlight once again. For the monarchy, this leak is a nightmare. Their image has already been damaged over the years, from scandals to royal exits. And now, this? The very foundation of the royal family, trust, honor, and duty, is being questioned. If the public starts to believe that the royals had a hand in Diana's death, it could change everything. What does this mean for Prince Harry's future? With everything that's happening, one can't help but wonder. What does this mean for Prince Harry? Is this the final straw? Is he done with the royal family for good? Some people believe this leak is Harry's way of burning the last bridge. Maybe he knows he can never go back. Maybe in his heart, he feels that telling the truth about his mother is more important than being part of the royal family. But there's another side to this too. Some say this leak could actually bring Harry more support. People who lost faith in the royals might now see Harry as the only honest voice in a family full of secrets. This could be his moment to finally break free and create his own legacy. One that's not tied to the crown. Still, this is dangerous ground. If the leak leads to legal action or threats, Harry could lose everything: his royal titles, his protection, even his connection to the UK. But knowing Harry, maybe he's already accepted that. Maybe, for him, the truth about Diana is worth any price. And who knows? Maybe this leak will finally push the world to demand justice for Diana. Maybe, after all these years, her death won't be just another tragic story. Maybe, because of Harry, people will finally get the answers they've been waiting for. The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard people try to bury it. If what Prince Harry revealed is real, this could change everything we thought we knew about Princess Diana's death. But the big question remains: will justice finally be served, or will those in power do everything they can to keep it hidden? Make sure to stay updated, because more shocking details could surface at any moment.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
Some secrets are too big to stay hidden forever. And this one? It's sending shockwaves through the royal family. Tucker Carlson couldn't believe what he was hearing. His guest sat across from him, calmly revealing something about Queen Camilla that no one was supposed to know. The look on Carlson's face said it all: disgust, shock, and maybe even a little anger. Who was the guest on Tucker Carlson's show? Now, first things first, who was the person who made this claim? This wasn't just some random YouTuber or a gossip columnist trying to make headlines. No, this was someone who had real knowledge, someone with access to information that the public was never supposed to hear. Some sources believe it was a former royal staff member, someone who worked behind the scenes in the palace, watching everything unfold up close. Others claim it was an investigative journalist, someone who had spent years digging into the hidden secrets of the British royal family. Whoever they were, one thing was clear: they knew something that most people didn't. And when they spoke, even Tucker Carlson, a man who has covered some of the most controversial stories in modern history, was left stunned. What did they reveal about Queen Camilla? Now let's talk about the real bombshell. What did this guest actually say that made Tucker Carlson react with shock and disgust? The guest revealed that Queen Camilla may have been involved in secret dealings that the royal family desperately wanted to keep hidden. And this wasn't just about her past relationship with King Charles. This was something far bigger, something that could seriously damage her reputation, and possibly even the monarchy itself. The claims fell into three major categories: financial scandals, secret political influence, and personal controversies. 1. Financial scandals. One of the biggest revelations was that Camilla had allegedly been involved in financial corruption. According to the guest, she may have used her royal influence to help certain powerful businessmen and politicians in exchange for personal benefits. There were claims that she had connections with secretive investors, possibly even foreign ones, who were using the British royal family's name to push their own agendas. Some reports suggested that these shady dealings involved hidden bank accounts, offshore investments, and even land acquisitions that the public was never supposed to know about. Now think about it. The British monarchy is already criticized for the way they handle money. Every year, British taxpayers pay millions to support the royal family. So, if Queen Camilla was secretly using her position to benefit herself financially, that would be a huge scandal. The British people would feel betrayed. Could this be the reason why the royal family always keeps its finances so secretive? Could this be why certain details are never made public? These are questions that, if answered, could shake the very foundation of the monarchy. 2. Political influence. The guest didn't stop at financial scandals. They also claimed that Queen Camilla might be playing a much bigger role in controlling the royal family's decisions than people realize. Many believe that King Charles is the one making all the big choices. But what if that's not entirely true? What if Camilla has been influencing key royal decisions from behind the scenes? The guest suggested that Camilla had been secretly involved in major political discussions, possibly even pressuring government officials to make decisions that would benefit her and her inner circle. If this is true, then it completely changes the way we see the royal family. The monarchy is supposed to stay out of politics. They're supposed to be neutral. But if Camilla is pulling the strings behind the scenes, then what does that mean for democracy? 3. Personal scandals. And now, the part that made people's jaws drop. The personal scandals. For years, people have whispered about Camilla's role in the downfall of Princess Diana. We all know that Charles and Camilla had an affair while Charles was still married to Diana. But what if Camilla's involvement went deeper than we ever knew? The guest hinted that Camilla may have played a much bigger role in Diana's emotional struggles, possibly even working behind the scenes to isolate Diana from the royal family. But that wasn't all. There were also claims that Camilla had personal secrets of her own. Secrets that, if exposed, could ruin her reputation forever. Affairs? Hidden relationships? Connections with people the royal family wouldn't want the public to know about? The guests didn't give every single detail, but they made one thing very clear. Queen Camilla is not as innocent as she seems. Tucker Carlson's reaction. Now, let's talk about how Tucker Carlson reacted to all of this. We all know that Tucker is not easily shocked. He has covered some of the most intense stories out there, from political scandals to media corruption. But when his guest started exposing Queen Camilla, something changed. At first, Tucker looked curious. You could see in his face that he was paying close attention, trying to figure out whether this was just another wild conspiracy theory, or if there was real substance behind it. But as the guest went on, his expression got more serious. His eyes narrowed, his lips tightened. It was almost like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And then, when the biggest claims were made about Camilla's secret influence and possible corruption, Tucker's reaction said it all. He shook his head. He leaned back in his chair. And for a moment, he was completely silent. That silence spoke louder than words. Finally, when he did speak, he asked the question that everyone at home was probably thinking. Why is nobody talking about this? And that's a great question, isn't it? Why is the media so quick to defend Queen Camilla? Why are these stories always buried? Why is it that every time a scandal about the royal family starts to surface, it suddenly disappears from the headlines? Tucker didn't outright say that he believed every word the guest said. He didn't claim that every detail was 100% confirmed. But he did say one thing very clearly. This was a conversation worth having. And that's the part that really matters. If even half of these claims are true, then the British public deserves to know. If Queen Camilla has been hiding dirty secrets, then the truth will come out sooner or later. The royal family's history of cover-ups. The British royal family is one of the most powerful and well-protected families in the world. They have wealth, influence, and a long history of carefully shaping their public image. Every time they step out in public, they are smiling, waving, and looking perfect. But behind closed doors? That's a different story. For decades, the royal family has been accused of covering up scandals, silencing people, and hiding the truth from the public. And every time a new scandal comes out, the same question arises. What else are they hiding? Now, with a shocking revelation about Queen Camilla, people are wondering once again, is this just another royal cover-up? To understand that, let's take a look at history. Because trust me, this isn't the first time the royal family has tried to keep something buried. The Prince Andrew scandal. One of the most shocking scandals in recent history involves Prince Andrew, the second son of Queen Elizabeth II. For years, Andrew was seen as a typical royal, attending events, smiling for the cameras, and living a life of luxury. But in 2019, everything changed. His name became linked to Jeffrey Epstein, a man who was known for some of the most horrible crimes imaginable. Even worse, a woman named Virginia Giuffre came forward, claiming that she was forced to be with Prince Andrew when she was just 17 years old. She had proof, photos, and witnesses. The accusations were horrifying. Now, what do you think the royal family did? Did they allow a proper investigation? Did they demand justice? Instead, they went into full damage control mode. They stayed quiet, hoping people would forget. But when the media kept digging, they tried a different tactic. Prince Andrew did an interview with the BBC, hoping to clear his name. But instead, he made things worse. He denied knowing Virginia, even though there was a photo of them together. He even used the strangest excuse. He claimed he couldn't have been with her on a certain date because he was at a pizza restaurant with his daughter. Yes, you heard that right. His alibi for one of the biggest scandals in royal history was pizza. The backlash was immediate. The interview was a disaster. People were furious. The royal family had no choice but to act. They stripped Andrew of his royal titles and public duties. He disappeared from public life. But did he ever face real consequences? Not really. Eventually, the royal family made a secret deal with Virginia Giuffre. They paid her millions of dollars so she would drop the case. And just like that, the scandal was quietly buried. But here's the real question. If the royal family was willing to protect Prince Andrew, who else have they protected? The tragic story of Princess Diana. Now, let's talk about Princess Diana, the most beloved royal in modern history. Diana was different. She was warm, kind, and truly cared about people. She didn't just smile and wave. She connected with the public. And because of that, she was adored by millions. But the royal family? They didn't feel the same way. Diana was seen as a problem. She didn't follow the rules. She spoke openly about her struggles, her loneliness, and her failing marriage to Charles. And when she famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," referring to Camilla, she embarrassed the entire monarchy. Diana was supposed to stay quiet, but she refused. She exposed secrets the royal family didn't want the world to know. She talked about how Charles had been in love with Camilla all along. She talked about how the palace controlled every aspect of her life. And then, in 1997, something terrible happened. Diana died in a car crash in Paris. The world was in shock. The official story was that her driver was drunk, lost control, and crashed. But a lot of people didn't believe that. Witnesses claimed they saw a mysterious white car near Diana's vehicle just before the crash. Some heard loud bangs before the car lost control. And then there's the most chilling part. Diana herself had predicted something like this would happen. She had written a letter, saying she believed someone was planning an accident to get rid of her. And guess who she named in that letter? Prince Charles. Was it really just an accident? Or was it something more? We may never know for sure. But what we do know is that when the royal family wants something to disappear, they make it happen. How the royal family controls public perception. The royal family is not just a family, it's a business. It survives because people admire and respect it. But what happens when scandals threaten their reputation? That's when their damage control team steps in. They have media experts, PR advisors, and strategists working 24/7 to protect their image. If bad news comes out, they don't panic, they manage it. Sometimes they ignore the story, hoping it fades away. Sometimes they release a carefully worded statement that says nothing but sounds important. And when things get really bad, they create a distraction. For example, when Prince Andrew's scandal became too big to ignore, what happened? Suddenly, the media was flooded with negative stories about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The timing was suspicious. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it a strategic distraction? The royal family has mastered the art of controlling public opinion. And that's why people are now questioning this new scandal about Queen Camilla. Is this just another royal cover-up? Is this new scandal about Queen Camilla another cover-up? So now we return to the big question. What about Queen Camilla? We know she has a history. We know she was at the center of Charles and Diana's broken marriage. We know she was once hated by the public. And even now, as queen, there are still people who don't trust her. Now, shocking information about her has come out. A guest on Tucker Carlson's show exposed something so disturbing that even Tucker looked disgusted. But here's the real question. What is the royal family doing to cover it up? Will they stay silent, hoping people forget? Will they release a carefully worded statement? Or will they distract us with another story? Maybe more drama about Harry and Meghan. If history has taught us anything, it's that the royal family will do whatever it takes to protect their image. But the truth has a way of coming out. The only question is, when? How the public reacted to the scandal. So what happened after this shocking revelation about Queen Camilla? Well, the internet exploded. People couldn't stop talking about it. Twitter was on fire, Reddit was buzzing, and YouTube comment sections were filled with arguments. Some were furious, some were shocked, and others were like, well, we saw this coming. Let's start with Twitter. Now, if you've spent even 5 minutes on Twitter, you know how wild things can get there. The moment this story broke, people started tweeting like crazy. Some users were posting memes, comparing Queen Camilla to historical villains. Others were writing long threads, trying to break down the situation like detectives. One tweet that went viral said, "First Diana, now this." The royal family never fails to disappoint. It got thousands of likes and retweets. But not everyone was against her. Some royal supporters were defending Camilla, saying people were being too harsh. One person tweeted, "This is just another attack on the monarchy. The queen has worked hard to be where she is today." But that tweet? Yeah, it didn't get as much love. Most of the replies were people disagreeing, posting old clips of Diana's interviews, where she talked about her struggles. Now, Reddit was a whole different battlefield. You know how Reddit works. It's full of deep discussions. People were posting in forums like r/conspiracy, r/royal gossip, and even r/world news. Some users were sharing links to old news articles, trying to prove that Camilla had always been hiding something. Others were asking, why do we still have a monarchy in 2025? A Reddit post with thousands of upvotes said, no matter how much the royal family tries to clean their image, the truth always finds a way out. And you know what? That's exactly what a lot of people felt. They believed the royal family had been covering up secrets for years, and this was just another example. And then, of course, there was YouTube. Tucker Carlson's clip from the show was trending. The comments section? A war zone. Some people were praising Tucker for speaking out, saying the mainstream media would never expose this. Others were saying Americans should stay out of British affairs, which of course made the comment section even messier. British versus American public opinion. Now, here's where things got really interesting. The way British people reacted was very different from the way Americans did. Let's talk about the British reaction first. A lot of people in the UK were angry, but not exactly surprised. You see, the British public has had a complicated relationship with Camilla for decades. Some have accepted her as queen, but many still see her as the woman who hurt Diana. This revelation just added fuel to the fire. Some British tabloids went all in. Headlines like, "The Queen's darkest secret finally exposed," started appearing. Morning talk shows had debates about whether the monarchy was still trustworthy. And you know what's interesting? Many older Brits, the ones who lived through the whole Charles-Diana-Camilla drama, were the angriest. They felt like history was repeating itself. But Americans? Oh, Americans love a good royal scandal. The US has always been fascinated with the British monarchy, even though they technically broke away from it hundreds of years ago. To many Americans, the royal family is like a real-life soap opera. So when this story came out, it wasn't just royal watchers who were talking about it, everybody was. Fox News, CNN, and even independent YouTubers started covering it. Some American commentators were comparing it to political corruption, saying things like, "This is why we don't do kings and queens over here." Others were just enjoying the drama, saying things like, "This is better than The Crown on Netflix." But here's the funny part. While many Americans were loving the gossip, some were actually defending Camilla. They felt like the media was being unfair and attacking her just because she wasn't Diana. It was a rare moment where Americans were more sympathetic to the British royal family than the British themselves. Did the royal family say anything? Now this is where things got even more suspicious. At first, Buckingham Palace stayed completely silent. No statements, no interviews, nothing. And you know what that does, right? It makes people even more curious. Eventually, after the story kept spreading, some royal insiders spoke to the media. But their response? It was the usual, "no comment," or "these claims are completely false" type of statement. And let's be honest, does anyone really believe that? One royal expert who often speaks on British TV said, "The palace is in full damage control mode." He explained that the royal family always follows the same strategy when a scandal breaks. Stay silent and hope people move on. If that doesn't work, release a short statement denying everything. If things get really bad, distract the public with another story. And guess what? A few days after this revelation, Prince William and Kate suddenly had a big charity event. Coincidence? Maybe. But a lot of people thought it was a classic move to shift the focus away from Camilla. How this affected Queen Camilla's reputation. So after everything, what did this mean for Queen Camilla? Well, let's just say her popularity didn't exactly go up. Even before this, Camilla wasn't the most loved royal. She had spent years trying to rebuild her image, working on charities and staying out of drama. But deep down, a lot of people never forgot her past. And this scandal? It reminded everyone why they didn't trust her in the first place. Polls started coming out, showing that her approval ratings had dropped. Some people even started calling for her to step down as queen. Of course, that's unlikely to happen, but the fact that people were even discussing it, that says a lot. The younger generation, especially Gen Z, was the most vocal about it. Many of them grew up hearing about Diana's story, and they never fully accepted Camilla. On platforms like TikTok, people started making videos comparing old clips of Diana with new ones of Camilla. One viral TikTok had the caption, "Diana deserved better. The truth always comes out." It had millions of views. Even some royal supporters, who usually defend the monarchy no matter what, were struggling to justify this one. A royal journalist wrote, "This is the biggest challenge Queen Camilla has faced since marrying Charles. Will the public ever see her the same way again?" And that's the big question. Can Camilla ever fix her reputation after this? Or will she always be remembered as the queen with too many secrets? What do you think? Is this the final nail in the coffin for Queen Camilla's public image? Or do you think the royal family will once again escape without consequences? Let us know in the comments below.
Everyone says that babies change so much over 2 weeks. We're basically sort of monitoring how they change.
Prince Harry never expected this day to come so soon. A strong man, always standing tall, now left in tears after seeing something that changed his world. His children, Archie and Lilibet, have grown in ways no one saw coming. The little ones he once held in his arms are no longer the same, and the change hit him harder than anyone could have guessed. As a father, he dreamed of giving them a happy and peaceful life away from royal rules. But now, something about them is different. Something so powerful that it brought out emotions he couldn't hold back. Those who know him say they've never seen him like this before. What really happened to his children? And why did it move him to tears? the truth behind this moment is something no one expected. The unexpected moment that touched Prince Harry's heart. It was a normal sunny afternoon in Montecito, California, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle now live with their two beautiful children, Archie and Lilibet. Far away from the noise, the paparazzi, and the royal expectations, the family has built a peaceful life, simple, quiet, and full of love. But sometimes, even in the most ordinary days, life surprises us with moments that hit right in the heart. And that day, Prince Harry found himself standing still, his eyes filled with tears, watching his children do something that he never expected. What unfolded in front of him wasn't dramatic or grand. It was simple, pure, and deeply emotional, the kind of moment every parent lives for but can never predict. It was a moment that reminded Harry of his mother, Princess Diana, and everything he had left behind in his royal life. It was the kind of moment that made him realize maybe all his tough choices were worth it after all. Archie's unexpected act of kindness. That afternoon, Archie was playing outside, his little feet running around the garden, chasing butterflies and laughing freely, the way children should. The sky was clear, and the air smelled like fresh flowers. Meghan sat nearby, watching her children, while Harry stood at a distance, smiling. For once, there were no cameras, no flashing lights, just family. Suddenly, Archie stopped. He spotted something that made him pause. A tiny bird, fallen from its nest, laying helpless on the grass. The poor thing looked weak and scared, fluttering its tiny wings, but unable to fly. Most children might have ignored it or called out for help. But Archie did something no one expected. Slowly, carefully, Archie walked over and knelt down next to the little bird. He looked at it with the softest eyes, full of concern, as if he could feel the little creature's pain. And then, in the sweetest voice, he whispered, "It's okay, little bird. I'm here. Don't be scared." He reached out his small hands but didn't touch, just staying close, letting the bird know it wasn't alone. Harry watched this unfold, and his heart ached in the best way possible. Right there, in that moment, he saw his own mother. Princess Diana was known for her kindness, her ability to care deeply for the most helpless. She used to comfort the sick, hold the hands of those everyone else ignored, and always chose love over everything else. Watching Archie, Harry felt like his mother's spirit was right there. Not in some big royal event, but in this small, beautiful act of kindness. He couldn't stop the tears. They filled his eyes and rolled down his cheeks because he knew Diana would have been so proud. Lilibet's beautiful surprise. And just as Harry wiped his tears, trying to steady his breath, another surprise came. This time from little Lilibet. Sweet, curious Lilibet, named after Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname, was sitting nearby watching everything. She stood up, her little hands brushing down her dress, as if preparing herself to say something important. She walked over to where her father stood, and in the softest, most innocent British accent, she asked, "Daddy, isn't it beautiful?" She pointed toward the garden, where flowers were blooming and birds were singing. Her voice was light, graceful, and carried a certain charm that caught Harry off guard. What struck Harry the most wasn't just the words, but the way she spoke, with a poise that seemed far beyond her age. Even though Lilibet was born in America and had spent all her young life away from the royal palace, there was something undeniably royal in that moment. Her gentle accent, her careful words, it felt like a piece of his heritage. Something Harry thought his children might lose by living so far from home was still there, alive in her. Harry looked at Meghan, who smiled softly, her eyes sparkling with pride. They both knew they had tried hard to create a life that was free from royal pressure. But hearing Lilibet speak like that, it was as if their past and present had met right there in their garden. Why this moment moved Prince Harry to tears. For Prince Harry, this wasn't just another afternoon. This moment, simple as it was, carried the weight of everything he had ever felt. His love, his loss, his dreams, and his fears. Seeing Archie's kindness reminded him so strongly of Diana that it almost felt like she was watching them.
She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
You and your brother both directly asked your dad not to marry Camilla.
Yes.
In a development that has sent shockwaves through royal circles, Laura Lopes, daughter of Queen Camilla, has reportedly severed all contact with the royal family, following the accidental discovery of DNA results that have upended everything she thought she knew about her identity. Sources close to the family reveal that Laura, who has maintained a deliberately low profile despite her mother's rise to royal prominence, has not communicated with Camilla since the test results arrived in a plain manila envelope at her Wiltshire home last month. What these results revealed about her true paternity has apparently devastated the 46-year-old art curator and left the royal family scrambling to contain what insiders describe as potentially the most damaging revelation of the modern royal era. Why would DNA results drive Laura to such a drastic decision after decades of family loyalty? And why is Buckingham Palace treating this private family matter as a threat to the monarchy itself? Stay tuned, because this genetic bombshell changes everything. The accidental discovery. When Laura Lopes participated in what she believed was a routine medical screening earlier this year, she had no reason to suspect it would upend her entire understanding of her family history. According to sources familiar with the situation, Laura had undergone comprehensive genetic testing as part of a private healthcare program, a precautionary measure recommended by her physician following some concerning symptoms that ultimately proved benign. It was meant to be nothing more than thorough due diligence, revealed a source connected to the healthcare facility. The genetic screening was primarily focused on identifying potential hereditary health concerns, particularly certain cancers that had appeared in what she believed was her family medical history. The standard procedure should have ended with a routine consultation about the health implications of her genetic profile. Instead, Laura reportedly received something entirely unexpected in addition to her medical results: a separate analysis flagging significant genetic inconsistencies that could not be reconciled with her presumed parentage. The report essentially indicated that Andrew Parker Bowles could not possibly be her biological father, our source explained. The genetic markers showed conclusively that she shares no paternal DNA with her brother Tom, despite them supposedly having the same parents. What made this discovery particularly shocking was the clinical, impersonal way it was delivered. According to those familiar with the situation, the genetic inconsistency was flagged as a potential sample contamination issue, with the report suggesting Laura might want to provide new samples to resolve the apparent error. There was no recognition that this technical finding represented a life-altering revelation about her personal identity. She was devastated, said someone close to Laura's inner circle. Imagine discovering something this fundamental about yourself through a clinical report that treated it as nothing more than a technical anomaly. It was the coldest, most impersonal way possible to have your entire identity called into question. After the initial shock, Laura reportedly sought confirmation through additional testing, using a different facility and ensuring the strictest confidentiality. The secondary results only confirmed the original finding. Her DNA showed no genetic relationship to Andrew Parker Bowles, the man she had called father her entire life. Most disturbingly, this discovery led her to examine something she had never questioned: the timeline of her mother's relationships before her birth. What she found reportedly left her reeling. Laura had never paid much attention to the complicated chronology of her mother's life before her birth, our source continued. But once she began examining the timeline with this new information in mind, certain overlaps became impossible to ignore. The most significant revelation came when Laura allegedly discovered that her birth in January 1978 placed her conception in spring 1977, a period when Camilla's relationship with the then Prince Charles had already begun, despite both being married to others at the time. The timing aligned perfectly with what royal biographers have identified as the initial phase of Charles and Camilla's relationship, noted a royal historian consulted on the matter. While their affair has been acknowledged to have begun during this period, the possibility of a child resulting from it has never been publicly suggested, let alone confirmed. When Laura confronted her mother with the test results and the timeline she had assembled, the encounter reportedly ended in a heated exchange at Camilla's private residence, with security staff noting Laura's tearful departure and Camilla's subsequent cancellation of all appointments for the next 3 days, citing an unspecified personal matter. Since that confrontation, Laura has allegedly refused all contact with both her mother and the royal household, returning correspondence unopened and declining calls from even her closest royal connections. The palace panic. The revelation of Laura's genetic discovery has reportedly triggered unprecedented concern within the highest levels of the royal establishment. According to palace insiders, what might normally be treated as a private family matter has been designated a potential constitutional crisis, with special advisors brought in to assess implications that extend far beyond personal relationships. This isn't being handled as a family rift, revealed a source with direct knowledge of palace operations. This is being treated as a Category 1 situation, the designation used for events that could fundamentally alter public perception of the monarchy or raise questions about succession. The most immediate concern appears to center on the timing of King Charles's relationship with Camilla relative to his marriage to Princess Diana. While their affair during his marriage has long been acknowledged, the official narrative has always maintained that their relationship was discontinued during certain periods, including the early years of his marriage. The established timeline has been carefully crafted over decades, explained a former royal communications director. If evidence emerged suggesting the relationship with Camilla not only continued during the early period of his marriage to Diana, but actually produced a child, it would undermine decades of careful reputation management. Within days of Laura's confrontation with her mother, unusual security protocols were reportedly implemented around all medical facilities she had visited. Sources familiar with royal contingency planning noted the activation of specific media monitoring systems designed to identify early signs of sensitive information entering public circulation. Most tellingly, legal representatives connected to the royal household allegedly approached the private healthcare facility that conducted the initial genetic testing, citing patient confidentiality laws and requesting confirmation that all copies of Laura's genetic information had been secured according to standard privacy protocols. This wasn't about suppressing information, insisted our source close to these discussions. This was about ensuring that private medical data wasn't inappropriately accessed or shared. But the urgency and seniority of the individuals involved in these inquiries spoke volumes about the level of concern. Palace officials have reportedly prepared multiple contingency statements addressing different scenarios, ranging from flat denial to carefully worded acknowledgments that neither confirm nor deny the central allegation. Crisis management teams normally reserved for major royal scandals have been placed on standby, with communication strategies developed for various potential disclosure scenarios. There's particular concern about how this information might be weaponized if it became public, noted our palace source. This isn't just about a private family revelation. It potentially connects to narratives about deception, infidelity, and questions about institutional integrity that have surrounded the Charles-Camilla-Diana triangle for decades. Most significantly, King Charles has allegedly been directly involved in these preparations, something unusual for contingency planning, which is typically handled by staff with the monarch briefed only when necessary. According to those familiar with the situation, he has taken a personal interest in the communication strategies being developed, particularly regarding how potential revelations might affect public perceptions of Camilla. His primary concern appears to be protecting her from the inevitable media onslaught if this becomes public, our source explained. He's painfully aware that she would bear the brunt of public criticism, regardless of their shared responsibility. The family fractures. Beyond the institutional concerns, Laura's discovery has reportedly created profound rifts within her immediate family. According to those close to the situation, her relationship with her brother Tom Parker Bowles has become particularly strained as he has attempted to mediate between his sister and mother without taking sides. Tom is in an impossible position, revealed a source close to the family. He loves his sister deeply and understands her sense of betrayal, but he's also protective of their mother and concerned about the broader implications for the royal family, which has become an integral part of his life and career. The most painful aspect for Laura, according to friends, has been reconciling this revelation with her relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, the man she had always believed was her father. Sources indicate that she has not yet disclosed her discovery to him, creating a painful dilemma, as she grapples with whether revealing the truth would be cruel or necessary at this stage of his life. Andrew has been a devoted father to her, said someone familiar with their relationship. The question she's wrestling with is whether the biological truth matters more than the lifetime of love and support he's given her. There's no easy answer. For Queen Camilla, the situation reportedly represents her greatest personal crisis since joining the royal family. Those close to her describe a woman torn between institutional loyalty and maternal devotion, desperate to reconnect with her daughter, but constrained by the broader implications of the situation. Camilla is devastated, revealed a longtime friend. Whatever the circumstances of Laura's birth, there's never been any question about the depth of love between them. The idea that this revelation could permanently damage that relationship is causing her immense pain. Most concerning for family unity has been King Charles's reaction to the situation. According to palace sources, he has been uncharacteristically withdrawn since learning of Laura's discovery, canceling several private engagements and spending increased time at his Highgrove retreat. Behavior that staff recognize as indicators of significant distress. The king feels tremendous guilt, explained our source close to royal circles. Not just about the past circumstances, but about how this revelation is affecting people he cares about deeply in the present. He's watching a family he loves being torn apart by a situation he helped create nearly half a century ago. The most visible sign of these tensions came at a recent family gathering, where Laura's absence was conspicuous. According to attendees, her name was notably not mentioned throughout the event, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere that even experienced royal staff found difficult to navigate. It was the elephant in the room that no one dared acknowledge, noted one attendee. When her brother was asked about her absence, he simply said she was unavailable and quickly changed the subject. The discomfort was palpable.